Welcome to Leadership and People. This is a series that pulls back the curtain on leadership by interviewing CEOs, senior executives, and entrepreneurs who have had large exits. We ask these experts about how they built trusted networks to rapidly grow their companies and what advice they wish they knew if they could do it all again. This is our part 2 interview with Ryan Sanders.
To be really careful about building quote unquote customer specials. Those early customers are going to help influence roadmap and things like that. But you have to be really, really careful about what's the market we're trying to serve and who are we trying to become and what's our vision of the product.
If you didn't catch part 1, we highly recommend it. We talked about how much they've grown over the last decade to almost 12,000 customers across 100 countries. Their SAAS product is helping out in 11 different languages now. And I actually think that might be a good jumping off spot. Ryan, when you think about this significant growth, what do you attribute it to?
Gosh, the growth is a function of a lot of different things. I think there was definitely, when we started this, there was a huge need in the market, particularly in the small to medium business space for our software. A lot of people were still in spreadsheets. You'd be amazed at how many, really impressive tech companies were in spreadsheets before they came and started using BambooHR. You think of tech company, you think they're going to use the latest and greatest to help them do their job the best. And a lot of them had dozens and dozens of spreadsheets that were hard to maintain, that weren't secure, that were tough to update. And we just made life easier for them. So it was a great time for us to start in 2008, in spite of the fact that it was a pretty terrible time as far as the world economy goes. We're kind of born out of the, kind of when the market crashed and everybody's 401ks were down 60%. It was a crazy time, but it was also a time where people were trying to be more efficient with fewer resources, with fewer humans, and with fewer investments in technology. And so to have something that was priced fairly, that was a good product, and that we take care of, we're taking great care of our customer, that resonated with people. We were very, very lucky there. So timing's great. The early team was great. We're just very fortunate to have some early folks that have been, some of whom are still around to help build the business. And then, HR software, HR SaaS software was kind of one of the last frontiers at the time. So that was a timing thing as well that helped us. So, but we've tried to build all of this on this foundation of create a great place to work, build a great product, take exceptional care of your customers, and then the outputs will be the success that a typical business will hope for. And that's been our path.
The SaaS model is something that obviously a lot of the rest of the world has caught onto or is catching onto. For folks who are maybe 8 or 9 years behind you, what kind of advice would you have for people who maybe only they're earlier, CEOs who are earlier in having a SaaS product?
SaaS is such an exciting space. It's so fun to be able to be super close to your customer and to be able to make changes pretty dynamically. I think there's two things that come to mind, and this is advice that we got early that's proven extremely valuable for us. One is really get to know your customer, get to know their pains, get to know their needs, both spoken and unspoken, and developing an empathy for your customer early and having that be part of your DNA will make a lot of things later down the road much easier. And if you keep that focus, I think there's an opportunity to win. And again, that win is for both the company and the customer, because customers, if they like a product, they want that product to stick around for a long time. So that's kind of one piece, and then the other is to be really careful about building quote unquote customer specials. Those early customers are going to help influence roadmap and things like that. But you have to be really, really careful about what's the market we're trying to serve and who are we trying to become and what's our vision of the product. And that's tough. When you're just trying to get that extra little bit of revenue, you kind of have that motivation to do something, to build a feature or functionality that might take you down a different path, might take you down the enterprise path instead of the SMB path, or might make the interface more complex for 99% of your customers, but it makes it great for solves a problem for 1%. So that kind of discipline is really tough, especially early. But those are two lessons that we've learned and that we've applied and feel like we benefited from.
Yeah. Um, so I want to talk about this. What does this look like to you? Gaining empathy. Software as a service. That is advice you hear. For you guys, when it comes to getting to know the customer, and you don't just want a subscription this year. You're hoping for a long life customer here. In the world of BambooHR, what did that look like, or what does that look like now? Gaining empathy for the customer and digging in.
Yeah, so we're big about doing customer visits. So our product and user experience team will they'll fly out and go visit a bunch of customers and really kind of see what's going on, what's in their environment, what kind of post-it notes do they have on their monitor, what kind of notes do they have scribbled on their whiteboard in their cube or in their office. Talk to managers, HR folks, the employees, and really try to understand what it is that they need. So there's that kind of research, and then we bring that back and distill it down into the things that we want to solve for, and the opportunities that we see that we need to take advantage of. We do that over phone calls as well. We do a lot of customer surveys, and then we create feedback loops internally from both the sales team and the customer experience team to make sure that we are getting that kind of day-to-day feedback. And we'll get over 450 pieces of feedback from our customers every month, and our product team is very, very diligent about going through each of those, identifying, categorizing, and then making sure they distill that into what the need is, and then we try to group those things together and find those things that overlap. So overlap with the vision, overlap with other customer requests. But it even goes deeper than that. Like HR is a tough job. You've got to balance, of course, all the legal requirements in HR. You've got to balance the demands of the owners or founders or executive team, and then you've got to balance the myriad demands from employees. Everything from I hate my chair to I hate this policy to I want this or that or the other thing. It's a tough job, and oftentimes HR departments are one person, maybe a couple folks, and so just understanding who that persona is, who is that person that you're trying to serve, and how do we think about the changes that we make, the improvements that we're after, which thing is next on the product roadmap. We got to keep that customer in mind, because we might get really excited about this one thing, but the customer's not excited about it. We're going to fall short of our goals.
Yeah. Do you have a name for that internally, or is there somebody else's methodology that you follow for that type of an approach?
It's probably just a blend of a lot of different things, but nothing that we've named it in particular.
Yeah. So thinking about the future, as you look at specifically the SaaS market and helping your internal team be prepared for it and you be prepared for it yourself, what do you kind of see over the next handful of years for the whole subscription economy?
So I think it's a brilliant way for people to get the software they need and to keep control of their costs, while also being ready to get upgrades, and improvements and new product offerings. So I think we're going to see continued growth and continued excitement around this. I think especially as you see a whole new set of folks into the workforce, that this is not new. This is just old hat. Super accepted, kind of all over the world, and it really levels the playing field as far as what types of tools and solutions are available to people to help them grow be successful in business in all different parts. So I'm excited. There's so much innovation around uh, not just software as a service, but kind of the different components. You've got a lot of stuff still happening in mobile, of course, artificial intelligence and machine learning, blockchain. I mean, you name it. This stuff is going to change the world in just a more rapid fashion, and I think it's exciting because of the opportunities that it presents. I think that as long as folks stay in tune with customer needs, then we just see some incredible solutions out there that are certainly affordable. And there's just gonna, my favorite setup is where you know you're just thrilled. You're just thrilled to use a particular product or service, and that's how we try to build our business, our product, and our services. Is that there's no worries or grief about that exchange of dollars because it's a fair value. In fact, some of the services I use, I'm thrilled to use those services, and so I'm more than happy to pay in it because it makes life better. We hope that's the case for our customers as well. That there's just that excitement, and so because there's just hopefully there'll be more of that, and it's kind of the survival of those who are paying attention to the customer and creating those great products. We'll just continue to see amazing innovation going forward. It gets really really exciting.
Yeah. You know, um, again, due to all those things you just said, there are a lot of folks who are excited about growth and possibilities. When you think about your role as the leader and as the workforce changes, the customer makeup of baby boomers versus millennials, ratio changes and things like that. Um, let's talk about sales for a minute. Sales is obviously key to growth. You talked about sales team for a minute in part one of the interview. What does leadership look like for your sales team?
Our we've got we've been really lucky and fortunate. We've got a great sales leadership team here, many of whom actually grew up here. Interestingly, there are a few from outside, but there are some that were former sales reps here and kind of grew into sales leadership. This is a group that just knows how to put their hard hat on and get to work, and they care deeply about their team. They care about all the inputs that yield the outputs. We've got a really nice process laid out. So really, if you want to be successful here in sales, all the tools here are here, all the tools and all the support. And so I think those things are actually critical to this next generation of that's entering the workforce. Um, there's that desire to have those resources available so you can get better, so you can progress. At the same time, we're built on a foundation of caring for the individual and of having a purpose beyond making money, which again resonates with the millennial workforce. So we feel like there's some key building blocks there that are we have from a corporate level or company level, but also our sales team embraces and lives those things and makes sure that their team understands them as well. So I think for us, we're going to continue to invest in training, continue to invest in tools and sales operations so that we can just keep getting better and refine so that the sales team has just a great experience and can be successful, but not just measure their wins by dollars, but measure the wins by impact on the customer too.
Can you talk about that for a second? Because that's not as traditional in sales cultures.
Yeah, so we try to give the sales team visibility into things beyond the close. So we'll take time out of company meetings to highlight customer wins or customer quotes. We call it customer love, bamboo love. There's some amazing quotes that come in unsolicited all the time. And when in particular, we get excited when it has to do with what a great experience they had on the sales team. And so we give, if we're highlighting the customer, even if the feedback they have is product related or whatever, we want to highlight the fact, here's the person that brought in that deal, and here's the person that implemented that deal, and here, so it gives them visibility into, hey, I help bring that person in the door, and they're thrilled about it. and they get excited and see it beyond the, the revenue they brought in that, several months ago. Obviously there's some folks that don't care about it very much, but we see a lot of our folks that get really excited that they are tied in some way to a Bamboo success story.
It's interesting. I think it's pretty easy for folks from other departments to discount the salespeople as those guys that only care about numbers, right? Those guys that only care about dollars. Um, it's interesting to hear you talk about highlighting those success stories and specifically the part about what it was like to be with the sales team. Um, I like hearing a real life example of, okay, here's an alternative payment, right? Other than a commission check. You got the
Mm-hmm.
social recognition. You've got this opportunity to feel like you're doing something that matters, that our whole company gets this reputation because of what you did. And it's interesting. It sounds like it's driven some behavior change.
Yeah, and I think in some cases behavior change, but I also think that I think that some of the folks that we've got, do care about those things too. So it's not too much of a stretch for them to be excited about having a venue that embraces and endorses those things.
Almost more like a solidifying it or reinforcing
Yeah,
it, or how would you
yeah,
think of
that's
it?
a great way to put it. Yeah.
Well, with this people focused aspect, I know you guys had your big BambooHR summit, and you had one of my favorite authors, Sean Aker, up there.
Hmm.
Can you talk about the role of having an event? I mean, most of us know about Salesforce having Dreamforce or HubSpot having Inbound or these big giant conferences that brands are putting on these days. Can you talk about the role that plays in your ecosystem and how that fits into your business philosophy?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's you kind of feel like, if you're a software company and there's any level of success or any significant customer base, you feel like you have to have a customer event. We when we first did it a couple of years ago, it was kind of that, as well as the desire to interact with our customer intimately, like our product team does, but do it, with more folks in the room, and then to provide that customer with some really great training and inspiration as far as how helping them get excited about creating great places to work. Um, and then of course, there's obviously the, chances to learn more about the product too. But but for us, it was kind of a magical event. It was pretty intimate, so it was about 300 folks, or 250. We were up at Snowbird. Um, it 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 snowed while we were up there. In fact, I think it snowed like 17 or 19 inches overnight the first night. So it was pretty fun to watch people there. But it was amazing to see this community of our users kind of interacting together and getting excited about not only their product but what they're doing at their companies to to be better at their craft, to help lift their companies, to help their companies achieve their goals. And for us, that was some of the magic that happened. Just that interaction, that they didn't have another place to do that. Um, and then to watch our team interact with those customers and be so excited, and just even friendships form, and or we even had a few folks that that had gone through implementation. Their implementation rep happened to be up at the conference at the summit, and they got to meet them face to face for the first time, and they were just thrilled because they had such a great experience during implementation. It was fun to put a face and a name together, and sit down for lunch. Um, it's a unique thing. Ours wasn't super flashy. Sean was amazing. He's just so great, and it was delightful to bring him up, and then to hear the feedback of his on his presentation. People were really excited, really touched, and really kind of changed their worldview a little bit. Um, but it's fun to give folks exposure to those things. It's fun to have that community together. It's fun to have our customers feel the Bamboo love in a really tactile way. Just because you're sitting there face to face, you can shake hands and talk about some of the challenges they're having or some of the opportunities that are in front of them. It's been an exciting thing. It's one we're still trying to figure out, to make sure that for us, we want it to be also cost effective for us and for the attendees. We want to make sure we don't lose sight, we don't lose the magic, don't lose sight of the goals and objectives. So there's still a lot to figure out, but we've had a ton of fun the last couple of years.
Yeah, I bet. Well, we appreciate all the time you spent with us. Maybe a good place to close would be, what's advice you would love to have been able to go back and give a younger version of yourself when it comes to all this business?
What kind of advice?
Yeah, business or leadership advice.
Oh man, that's a great question. Um, I think so. Early on in building this, I don't know why what in the world got into my head, but I decided to go back and get a master's. And I looked around. It initially started out as a desire to get a HR designation, like a PHR or SPHR credential, just so we could again understand the customer really well. That turned into looking at masters of organizational behavior, which it got more exciting, but kind of didn't fully resonate with me. And finally, I landed on a master of organizational leadership out of Gonzaga, and I got to do it remote. I had to be on campus for a few days during the couple of years, but most of it was remote. The foundation of that program is servant leadership, and knowing that the leader is actually the servant of the individuals that they are trying to lead. I think if I were to go back in time, I think I would allow myself or encourage myself to focus even more on that, because when you set yourself up that way, you find a lot more success. You find change is much easier. You find that it's exciting leadership is exciting, because you get to help others do the best that they can. You remove roadblocks, help them find ways to stretch and grow. It's just a delightful opportunity. So there's some great books by Robert Greenleaf out there on servant leadership, and some other great ones that just it's a good reminder that you don't have to be the as Jim Collins says, the genius with 1,000 helpers, but you can be that level 5 kind of leader by making sure you put others at the center of your universe.
Yeah, solid advice. Well, thanks again. As far as people connecting with you, is the website the best place? Just come to BambooHR.com, or where's a good place for them to find out more?
Yeah, for the company, BambooHR.com is great, and then we're also very active on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn as far as social media goes at BambooHR.com. And would love for folks to reach out. So
that's great. Well, thanks again.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Logan Wilkes, and I'm the CEO of Corporate Alliance. A few years ago, I moved to San Diego to build a new market for us there. The biggest deterrent I had to success was I didn't know a soul. I often thought to myself, if I just had a thriving network or influence, this would go 100 times faster. To be honest with you, I had never felt so alone in my life because A, I didn't have an influence, and B, I didn't know anyone that was going through the same thing that I was. If you have ever felt like this and you are looking to grow your influence, join us at one of our upcoming events. You can check us out at corporatealliance.net and request an invite to one of our upcoming experiences.